Hello, it is Friday, June 28th, and I want to talk some PlayStation. Hey, new camera looks pretty good, right? And if you can hear, we got some music playing in the background, just subtly, just subtly. We're going into year 2 of Let's Talk PlayStation, obviously, as we were talking about last week, so I want to make a couple improvements, up the production value, I guess, but, you know, I'm liking it. Pretty nice view we got with this bad boy. You can actually see my fish tank over there. You can see my second monitor, my audio arm holding my microphone right here, and if you don't like the music, that's totally cool. We'll get rid of it. I just want to try it for this episode. So let me know if you don't like it. We can make adjustments as see fit. But going into our first news story, if you remember last week, Sony released PS3 firmware 4.45. They have just released the fix this week, firmware 4.46. So they also sent out a little tutorial for people that, if their PS3s did get bricked and they are, you know, inoperable, they sent out a little tutorial to help you get 4.46 on your PS3 and to get it working and functioning back to as normal. So, you know, that's good. Hopefully we don't see more of that in the future. But moving into our next story, I really wanted to talk about this because I just thought it was so funny. There's a poster in The Last of Us that says, you know, pest control, blah, 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 and there's a number, of course. You're thinking it's fake, of course, but, you know, if you call that bad boy, that thing leads you to a sex hotline. So this is really no joke. There's a poster in The Last of Us that says pest control. If you call it, you literally get taken to some sexy hotline stuff. So basically what happened there, Naughty Dog did explain. Usually if you put 555 as the area code for a number, it usually makes it invalid. But of course, what had happened here was they added a 1-800 to it in the poster, of course, and it actually did end up leading to something. And it's so funny that it actually led to something as funny as a sex hotline. So it is getting fixed, but I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, this next news story is kind of obvious, but it's still good to talk about. Sony has come out to say that once the PS4 comes out, they're still going to support PS3. Now, if you've known Sony for a while, throughout the entire existence of them being in the video game industry, they've done this. When PS2 comes out, they supported PS1 for a couple years. When PS3 came out, PS2 was going on for a very long time. They just now stopped making them. Of course, like a year into PS3 coming out, God of War 2 came out on the PS2. So they are saying the same thing is going to be happening here. PS4 is going to come out, PS3 is still going to be around. And that's really good. I mean, it's a little different this time around, right? Because a PS3 is a much more connected device than like PS2, for example. Like, you don't necessarily have to jump to PS4 right away because your PS3 still has all these online features and all these, you know, your Netflix and stuff and good-looking great games. You know, it's arguably not that big of a jump to PS4. So it's good that they're still going to be supporting PS3 because obviously there's still all these online features, right? I mean, there's tons of online games on the PS3. More importantly, there's the PlayStation Store on the PS3. And hopefully, you know, that they're saying that that's what's going to happen. They're going to be supporting that for a very long time. Because, of course, as it stands right now, PS4, when that comes out, it's going to have a PlayStation Store, but it's going to have a PS4 Store. There's only going to be PS4 content on there. They need to keep the PlayStation Store and the PS3 running for God, possibly a decade even. I mean, even further than that, I would assume, right? I mean, PS3's got 70 million units out there. There's millions of dollars still available on PSN to purchase in terms of game availability and all that. There's thousands of items on the PlayStation Store. And of course, there's download lists that need to be kept track of in case people want to go back and download that stuff. PS3 support's going to be going on for a very long time, I can see. But that's good because it reassures customers you don't have to jump that far ahead if you don't want to. So, you know, that's good. And that's another thing I guess I like about Sony and prefer about Sony is that they keep the old stuff going. They don't force you into something you don't want to be a part of just yet. PS3 is still going to be around for a little bit, and I'm still going to have mine hooked up and enjoying it. But moving on, let's talk about GameStop and more specifically supply orders for PlayStation 4. Now, supply is usually a very big thing when it comes to console launches because how many systems are going to be sent to America and Europe and all that. I mean, obviously, going back to like the PS3 launch, for example, only 400,000 PS3s were sent to North America, and that was a really big issue because people were dying over it. People were getting robbed. There was, you know, riots everywhere, and it was a really bad sort of time to get your hands on a PS3. But GameStop is saying that right now, currently, GameStop is taking unlimited pre-orders for the PS4. Unlimited. So this would, of course, mean that Sony has plenty of PS4s in stock. And that's definitely awesome because it also reassures people like, hey, I could get a PS4 if I want to. Because, of course, usually, you know, like I said back then, those consoles sold out really fast. So it's good that even how many weeks into the PS4's announcement, you could still go to GameStop and secure yourself a PS4. In relation to that, though, they are saying that they are very low in stock of DualShock 4s, extra DualShock 4s, which I guess would usually make sense. Usually GameStop says these things so they can get you to go out and buy stuff like, hey, we're running low on this, so come in the store and get it quick. But this isn't really the issue because, of course, they're saying they can take unlimited PS4s, but there's limited DualShock 4s, which that really sort of adds up because, of course, a DualShock 4 is to come with the PlayStation 4, and if they're making this many PlayStation 4s, I would assume they don't have a whole lot of room to make extra DualShock 4s. But, just a little pre-warning for anybody that needs to go out there and, if you haven't got your pre-order yet, if you plan on getting a PS4 or an extra DualShock 4, you might want to go out and get your DualShock 4, but, have some easy tension knowing there's a lot of PS4s, which is really good because Sony's going, Europe and America release at the same time, and so far so good in terms of how many PS4s are available. So this next announcement made me super happy. Pixel Junk Monsters Ultimate HD is coming to the PlayStation Vita. Now, if you don't know what Pixel Junk Monsters is, boy oh boy, you're missing out. Awesome tower defense game that came out on PSN a very long time ago, on PS3, came out to PSP, had some DLC, awesome game. Now it is coming to the Vita with extra stuff, and it looks HD, and it looks great. Awesome. Now, of course, one thing to be said about this announcement is, again, it's another one of those games where we've played it somewhere else. Good game, but we've played it somewhere else. And it really sucks that the Vita does have a huge problem with getting original games on the system, because we're getting Jack Collection, God of War Collection, Sly Collection, all these other iPhone games we've played before. It is definitely one of the Vita's issues, but I think one thing to be said is, at least for me, when these games get announced that they're coming to Vita, I'm still happy. Like my face lights up like the 4th of July when I know great games are coming to the system. Granted, I've already played them. They're still good games. And I guess for me, I'm super happy about it, So I can't wait to play Pixel Junk Monsters Ultimate HD on Vita. Of course, I still want that original stuff, and it really does suck that Vita isn't getting a lot of that, but I mean, if you like Pixel Junk Monsters, you should be happy too, because that game's awesome. So let's move on to probably the most interesting story that happened this week. Shuhei Yoshida has said that basically Sony took out the PlayStation 4 camera in the PS4 to keep the price at $400. So originally, Sony was planning on having the camera ship with every PlayStation 4. And Sony did this in a very sly way. They originally planned to have the camera with every PS4, but they told retailers that they were taking the camera out because they wanted to get the price down lower, because originally the PS4's price was going to be upwards to $500. But they wanted to undercut Microsoft and get the system down to $100, so they silently told retailers were taking the camera out without telling them about a price change. Now, in the long run, this was definitely a good decision because, of course, the PS4 is $100 cheaper, and not everyone wants a camera. I mean, I think I speak for many people when I say, they don't want a PS4 camera. So, I mean, in the long run, it was good, but the news story about this is that there are some consequences to this. I mean, Sony designed the PS4 a little bit around this camera, not completely, so to say, but going back to the DualShock 4, for example, that LED tracker on the DualShock 4, that was built with the camera in mind. I mean, Sony was, at the very start of this thing, going to ship the PS4 with a camera. So while the system is $100 cheaper, it kind of foils Sony's plans of what they were doing with the DualShock 4, possibly PlayStation Move, and anything camera related, because now this means that the camera is, and since it's not being shipped with every PlayStation 4, that means it's a completely separate market. When someone wants to make a PlayStation 4 game and they want to include camera features, they have to consider how many people own a camera. The original plan was every PS4 owner was going to own a camera. So making a PS4 camera game would have made a lot of sense. But now it's like there's almost literally no incentive to make a PS4 camera game. There's almost no incentive to add features with the DualShock 4's LED light. There's literally no incentive at all because now you're splitting that market. How many people are going to buy a PlayStation 4 camera for $60? Probably not many. I mean, Sony was touting features like, for example, having split screen, 2 DualShock 4s. If your friend moves to the other side of the room, it would track the light on his controller and then swap your screens on the split screen. I mean, these things are not necessarily huge selling points, and they're not even something I would probably use, but it kind of foils Sony's plans. I mean, now, like I said, in the long run, this was definitely a better decision. You don't need a camera in every PS4. That's why people are preferring PS4. It's $100 cheaper, and they're not putting a camera in the system, forcing you to plug it in, However, it does really suck that Sony kind of, made this camera and we're touting these features. I mean, this thing is not going to probably do well when the camera comes out. I mean, who knows at this point? I mean, it's like another separation of market. It's like with PlayStation Move. Because it didn't come with every system, and because it wasn't selling incredibly well, there was like almost no incentive to make PlayStation Move games, and only some games had PlayStation Move support. It's splitting that market. Ultimately, it was a better decision, but don't expect to see any of these features now if you do happen to buy a PlayStation 4 camera. That concludes episode 1 of year 2 of Let's Talk PlayStation. We're on the second year of me doing this show. Holy crap, that's crazy. Thank you all for watching. I mean, the camera's probably going to stay, but let me know if you like the music, the soft ambient music in the background. If not, I'll take that out, no problem. But hey, I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you all for talking with me, and I'll see you next Friday.